G'day, mate. My name's Adam Cleary from FourFourTwo, and I promise that's the only Australian accent I'm doing in this video. Now, at the risk of embarrassing him ever so slightly, just want to quickly show you what my colleague Ryan Dabbs said about Tottenham in our craziest predictions video.
I predict that Tottenham Hotspur might get relegated.
And while he no doubt feels very silly now, that's not there to shame him, because I think a lot of people were of the opinion that having just lost Harry Kane, Spurs were in for a really difficult season. But I mean, certainly doesn't look like it, does it? They go into the international break on 10 points just behind Man City, unbeaten in the league. They've scored 11 times, they've barely conceded from open play. Just easy, innit? And you can sum up precisely how this has happened in one word: Ange Ball. Oh, and just really quick before we start, we've got a sponsor today. Look, FourFourTwo going up in the world. Yay, go us. NordVPN, there'll be more about them in a little bit. Right, yes, so Tottenham appointed Ange Postecoglou. You know that bit already, and he arrived from Celtic with a really clearly defined footballing ideology, and the question was, can he make that work in the Premier League? Because, and Tottenham fans should not forget this, there was quite a lot of sniffiness about him getting this job. Well, playing this sort of attacking football might get you results against St Mirren, my friend, but you're not going to get away with that in His Majesty's Barclays Premier League. Now, at the risk of making this video too self-referential, you may remember we did a video here on the channel about why we thought Postecoglou's appointment at Spurs could actually be perfect for them. And in it, we said that Tottenham fans should expect to see a really aggressive, really attacking style of football, a central striker who pushes defenders back, wide players who maintain the width, then these two 8s who sort of double up as creative 10s but also go and join in with the centre forward when there's an opportunity. The midfield gets all the way up. The two fullbacks invert either into sort of the half space or just behind the midfield, and the defenders just sit on the halfway line. And lo and behold, if you look at Tottenham in any single game this season, whether they're in their own build-up phase or whether they're trying to create stuff in the attacking third, you can see this shape, you can see these hallmarks of Ange Ball. The wide players, you can see here, they hold their width, which stretches out the defense and creates the space for the midfielders. You can see here, either they join in or they sit in that pocket. And the fullbacks, you can see, are inverted. They're playing in the center. They are helping with the build-up. And also, I mean, just look at how high the fucking line is here. It's an absolutely insane way to play your football. And it's genuinely just, like, so impressive. Not only how quickly Postecoglou has got these players to buy into this philosophy, but how effective they've already become at implementing it. Like, I know Tottenham fans will not want reminding just how turgid and miserable to watch they were for really long parts of last season, but already this campaign, if we look at the numbers, they play great stuff. Like, they're so on the front foot. They are currently second in the league for the number of tackles made in the attacking third. They're second in the league for the number of high turnovers they've made in the attacking third. They're second in the league for the number of shots they've got from high turnovers. And they're so incisive and neat and just deadly with their interplay. They're second bottom in the league for the number of long passes. That's any pass that goes like over 30 yards. They're just doing everything so just nicely. These are the best stats of all, though, if you're a Tottenham fan. They lead the league in terms of progressive carries. That's any time a player gets on the ball and progresses it nearer to the opposition goal. So not putting your foot on it, not passing it back, not looking for an easy option, for getting on it and thinking, me, yes, I will make this happen. They're the top team in the league for that. And just to really drill this down, they are second in the league for the number of those progressive carries that end in the final third, and they are top of the league for the number of those progressive carries that end in the penalty area. Basically, there is no team in the Premier League right now that is going at you as hard and as frequently as Tottenham Hotspur. And it's startling, really, just how well this brand of football has translated into the Premier League. Like, Tottenham are scoring almost identical goals this season that Celtic have been doing for the last 2 years. Like, we already discussed it in that video looking at everything Man United did wrong in the Tottenham game, but one of the best examples of how this system functions is in that Sarr goal. Like, fundamentally, the role of the wide players is to hold the width as often as possible to stretch out the defense. You can see when Kulusevski receives the ball here, he's just been left in miles of space on the touchline. This absolutely panics Manchester United because they've compacted too much. They've got to try and get out to him. It disorganises the defense, and the role of Richarlison here is really important. You would think as a goal scorer scorer, your first thought should be, right, where can I find the space? Who can I peel off the back of? Where can I put myself to get the optimum chance of scoring a goal? But he doesn't do that because that's not his job. Instead, Richarlison makes sure he is mirroring Kulusevski's run. He pushes the Manchester United defence towards the near post. Now, if the ball does come to him, he'll try and get on it and he'll try and score, but he's not doing that. His job is to create the space behind him, which he does, and this is partly why we did that video on Man United's problems rather than what was so good about Tottenham, because they do actually recognise that situation, and you see Casemiro, he fills in the hole that's been left by Richarlison pulling the defenders away. Now, Man United are actually set up reasonably well to defend against Ange Ball in this situation, but what's been so impressive about what he's done with these players is the buy-in he's got from them, the determination they've got, and how eager they are to score goals using this system. So you can see that even though Sarr is outnumbered here and there should be 3 players who can pick him up, he's the only one who makes that driving run into the box to get on the end of that and get the goal. Because that's the most important thing about Ange Ball that people forget. It isn't just systems and shapes and numbers on a spreadsheet. It's like a mentality thing. You've got to want to play this way. You've got to be really enthusiastic about the prospect of running so much you're physically sick if it does get you a 2-0 win. And as we've demonstrated, the reason it's Sarr that scores that goal, the reason Man United should know to defend against this is because once the attacking player creates a space, pulls the defenders away, then it's one of these 2-8s that are free to go and join in with that attack. Like even in the Brentford game, would you ever have expected to see Oliver Skipp arriving as a centre-forward in this shape? But that's the job of those 2-8s. When they see the opportunity to go and play with the centre-forward, to double up with them, they have to go and do that. You know, my great-great-grandfather used to have a saying, and that was, you'll know you've made it on YouTube when they start asking you to advertise virtual private networks. So this one's for you, Theodore. Yes, that's right. Today's video is brought to you in partnership with NordVPN. Everyone knows that browsing the internet should be fun and carefree, like some sort of mercurial winger running with the ball. But sadly, your data and information can be vulnerable to third parties, like some sort of absent-minded winger who's not checked to see what's around him. Oh, but not if it's protected by a VPN, and that's why millions of people use Nord. With over 5,800 servers across 60 countries, Nord offers some of the best VPN speeds on the market, stable connections across 6 devices at the same time, and award-winning 24/7 support. It'll even block annoying ads, stop web trackers from accessing your details, and even pull you back from the brink if you accidentally navigate to somewhere unsafe. It even comes with a dark web monitor to see if any of your details have been leaked where they shouldn't, so if your account credentials wind up on some dark web forum, you'll be notified. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, gee whiz, I would sure love to try this at a heavily discounted rate, then prepare to be extremely happy, because FourFourTwo viewers, and that's you remember, can get NordVPN right now with 69% off and 4 months extra. Nice. Simply click the link in the description below to activate that and continue this exciting adventure across the World Wide Web as safe and secure as Sergio Busquets with the ball in his own half. Now back to the video. If you're not a Spurs fan, you're sitting there thinking, hang on, my team plays 4-3-3. Why don't we always have our 2-8s arriving late into the box? Why aren't they that attacking? Why do they actually just play as midfielders? And that's because of the inverted fullbacks. Like you can see here in the build-up, that's exactly where you would expect your 2-8s to be, but oh, no surprise, it's actually Tottenham's fullbacks. Opta's pass map's a really good illustration of this, because if you look at the Man United setup, you can very clearly see the 4-3-3 they were set up in. Here is the back 4, and here is the midfield 3, and here are the 3 attackers. Like, that looks about right. That's what you'd expect. But bear in mind, Tottenham were theoretically playing in the exact same shape as Man United, right? Look at this. This is the back 4, and while the first thing that might jump out to you is simply high up the pitch Udogie is, look at how narrow both him and Porro are. Remember, these are average positions across the course of the game, so they will have done the defending in wide areas, so to still be this narrow on the average map means they're spending a huge amount of time in the centre of the pitch. The midfield 3 is absolutely perfect, but crucially, both Sarr and Maddison are playing on average about as high up the pitch as Richarlison, meaning that they are not afraid to get up and support him, and likewise he isn't afraid to drop off if that's where he's going to create the space. But this brings me very neatly to the one thing I think is kind of going underappreciated about this system. If you look at this pass map, you can actually see the main problem with it, the reason that it shouldn't actually work. Both Kulusevski and Son are way too narrow for a team playing Ange ball. That is not where he wants his wide players to be. Now, it's understandable, of course, because Son and Kulusevski are two incredibly talented wide attackers who want to get on the ball out wide, or at least start there, but they want to move in towards the goal. They want to be playing in and around the box. And that is the problem Tottenham should be having, because the system lives or dies by the wide player's ability to stretch the defence. Now, we saw for the goal, it worked really well. Kulusevski was in the right position, but fortunately for him, the space Man United left allowed him to just charge into the box and do what he wanted to do. Tottenham should be having these attacks break down because their wide players aren't holding their weight. But these attacks aren't breaking down, and it is working absolutely perfectly, and they're scoring loads and loads of goals doing it, and the reason for that, James Maddison. Now, the role of James Maddison in this 8th position is, as we've discussed, it's to push up, it's to support the attacker, but also if the space is slightly in the pocket, to then drop off and be creative, to find little passing triangles with the wide player or with the underlapping fullback or with the centre forward, to do that. That's what an Ange ball 8 does. And also, crucially, if the chance avails itself, as we can see here in the Bournemouth game, to make the run. If you see the space that a centre forward has vacated, get into it and score the goal. Like, again, this goal's another perfect example of how this system works. Richarlison and Sarr, they both drag the defenders out into this channel. Basuma gets the ball, he does a progressive carry towards goal because that's what they all want to do. That creates a space. Maddison is really aware of what's going on. He gets in behind the defender and he's through. He's in effect a central midfielder in this system, but he's not afraid to make a run into the centre forward area because sometimes it will just open up for him. So he does the two jobs he's supposed to do really, really well. But the reason this system is working, the reason Spurs are so dangerous right now, is because it has created a third job, which should be a problem, but he is dealing with so well, it is making the system sing. Manor Solomon receives the ball on the left-hand side. He is another one of Spurs' wide attackers who can go down the line, who can go either way, but really wants to, if he's being honest with himself, move towards goal, get on his right foot, and do what he was doing at Fulham. Now, this should create a problem for Tottenham, because he is on the ball and he is about to move into an area that Maddison is already in, that Son will feel comfortable dropping into, and that the fullback may be making an underlapping run into. It should just be a mess. He should crowd it out. But the second he gets on the ball, James Maddison realizes what is going on and he forgets about doing what he wants to do. Because obviously he's a 10. He's an attacking midfielder. He's dying to receive that pass in that area and be the creative one, get a shot at goal or play somebody in. He forgets about all that and he remembers the space. He makes this darting run into the wide area that Solomon has elected not to go into, and that immediately accomplishes three really important things. First off, obviously it leaves the room so Solomon can actually travel into it, meaning he's not going to get lost in traffic. It drags a defender away to make his job that much easier when he gets there, and crucially, he then occupies the wide space, which not only makes him a suitable person to receive a pass if it all breaks down, but also it keeps stretching that defense. If they were all in the center of the pitch, they could then get compact and the whole thing wouldn't work. Like, just never mind how technically good James Maddison is. You know already how good he is on the ball. He's contributing goals and he's contributing assists. The most important thing he's doing for this team right now is how just well he understands what they're all trying to do and how willing he is to be the one to fill the little gap or make the extra run or take himself out of a situation. Like, that's worth so much more. And I know that might sound like a weird thing to say, like, oh, his off the ball runs are more important to Tottenham than slamming one in from 30 yards, but just think about last season. They had one player who worked really well every single week and a system that fundamentally didn't, and it was miserable. Now they've got a player like James Maddison who will occasionally be the shining light in this system, but is also willing to take himself out of it when circumstances demand. And that's how you have a big season, not by having one or two players have personally strong campaigns, but getting like proper buy-in and understanding from a talented team playing a philosophy that the rest of the league are really struggling to keep up with. So it is only early days, yet they've only played 4 games, and I'm sure people would say that the Man United fixture aside, they've been fairly kind opening games, but the signs are there. The signs are there that Tottenham could absolutely f*** this season. It's almost as if, I don't know, when people talk about coaches having the right pedigree and elite experience and things like that, almost like that's nowhere near as important as just having like the right personality fit for a club and a bunch of players, so they'll all buy into what you're trying to do and it'll work really effectively. almost like that, but I mean, what do I know? Like, I mean, if Antonio Conte couldn't get a tune out of this team and Jose Mourinho couldn't get a tune out of this team, who can get a tune out of this team? Oh, God, I don't know. Maybe this guy, who a few TalkSport pundits might not personally rate and think is a weird appointment, but is at least going to try and play a song that they all fucking like and can understand. So yeah, that's why Tottenham are just all of a sudden the best team to watch in the Premier League. And, like, unless you're an Arsenal fan or something, you should probably be secretly rooting for them. Now, that's enough for me, but if you did enjoy this video, I know I say it every time, but subscribing to the channel really, really does help us out. It's the one metric that you can just do for free, and it's really, really good for us, so please do consider doing that if you enjoyed the video, or even if you didn't, but you think there's the potential that one could be good down the line. Yeah. In the meantime, though, you can grab me on Twitter at Adam Cleary, C-L-E-R-Y. Enormous thanks again to today's sponsor, NordVPN. Please do check them out in the description below. And until next time, buy the magazine, please. It's really, really good, and I'll see you soon. Bye.